I'm Cole Haddon, and this is 5 a.m. Real Talk, a 5 a.m. StoryTalk plog. Hey, party people. Welcome to the first episode of 5 a.m. Real Talk. This plog's a bit of an evolution of what I've been doing here. It's a new way to communicate more directly, more personally with you about my life as an artist. Before I get into that, though, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast is recorded, what we call Australia today, and pay respects to elders past and present and emerging. Sovereignty was never ceded. Now, as for this plog, this podcast blog, I'm going to use this space to talk about any number of things, from what I'm working on to what I'm watching and reading to what I'm struggling with as an artist and a person during our ongoing apocalypse. But I want you to be a part of this conversation too. So I'd encourage you to subscribe for free to my newsletter. You can find that link in the show notes. At this newsletter, you can post comments on my blogs and everything else I publish. Maybe I'll even talk about a question you have on my next Real Talk episode, which will be published in 2 weeks. You're going to get one of these on the second and fourth Monday of every month, so we can, as I said, stay in better touch with each other about life and art. Now, how's that apocalypse treating you? Well, I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell these days. Maybe you feel the same way. As some of you already know, I live in my mom's native Australia. Spring started here on September 1st, but that's more of a technicality in Victoria, where I'm located just outside Melbourne. It's going to feel like winter for at least another 6 weeks. But hey, that's given me a lot of time to work by cozy fires and cozy cafes and pubs here. I share pics of where I'm writing on Instagram if you're curious. Maybe you're like me and you're constantly hunting new places to work and find inspiration. Luckily, I live in a beautiful part of the world, so those are pretty easy to come by. Speaking of pubs, I'm finding some of the most joy in my life right now at the Radio Springs Hotel in Lionsville. That's in the Macedon Ranges, Jara country. The owner is a crazy cinephile who built a private theater out back with two 35mm projectors. He screens obscure films on actual film there. So 2 weeks ago, for example, I saw a French double feature of Agnes Varda's The Gleaners and I, and Lola, the first film from her husband, Jacques Demy. Absolute heaven for a film lover like me. Plus, I've come to love the free film chatter in the pub with this increasingly familiar group of faces from the area. It's like Cheers, except we're all film nuts instead of lovable working stiffs. I mean, some of them are probably working stiffs, but I find a lot of them lovable. As for what I'm working on, besides this podcast, which I do hope you guys are enjoying, I turned in a TV pilot outline for a series I've been commissioned to create, which is really exciting. I'm waiting for notes on that. Been waiting for a while. Waiting for notes from my book agent on a partial novel manuscript I've been working on too. Waiting to hear what producers think of a new spec being shared in the UK. Just so much waiting. It reminds me of that Dr. Seuss book, Everyone is Just Waiting. The Waiting Place, that's what it's called. My kids love that one. Normally my solution to being stuck in the, this waiting place is just to start writing something else. Creating, it calms me. It's better to write a new script or short story or whatever, rather than just be stuck in my head for too long. But I think I'm just wallowing in how absolutely shit everything is in the world. It's getting to a lot of people I know. But I think I've been struggling a bit more than usual over the past few weeks. See, sometimes when people hear I self-exile myself from America after the 2016 election, they ask why. I give them the quick spiel usually, Trump, white supremacy, Christian extremism, all the greatest hits of the past decade. But sometimes I share the observation that after the 2016 election, I considered the community I grew up in and realized a lot of it, including family members, were chomping at the bit to essentially go full Nazi. I guess it wouldn't take more than 6 months for many of them to start throwing up stiff-armed salutes. And nobody believed me at the time, but I've seen their Facebook pages and I don't think I was wrong. It's worse than that though, and this is so messed up. But someone in my family, someone close to me, texted a few weeks ago that they were thinking about taking a job at ICE because it offered a better retirement plan. I mean, how's that for the banality of evil? They're likely off to cosplay being a Nazi stormtrooper now, a job that will see them help ruin, innumerable lives. all for a better pension than the one they were already bragging about last year. It made me think of Tony Gilroy's Andor, which really drove home the point that fascism is largely enabled by people just trying to selfishly get ahead in their otherwise mundane lives. Pencil pushers, office managers, people vying for promotions and better status without a single thought being given to, the lives being ruined by their actions. Remember that when your characters start leaning toward being archly evil, most people aren't like that. They're just selfish assholes, really. Anyway, it's messed up. It's so messed up, and it's messed up to watch someone you love prove that they're everything you always suspected about them. It's messed up to not know what to do with that love and that disgust. I'm sure you've experienced something like this in your life. Everything that's happening has split so many families down the middle. What about you out there? Is 2025 eroding your bandwidth to create? Are the people around you letting you down this badly? I think that's mostly everything this week, but I do want to go out on a bright note. Obviously, I got pretty depressing there for a moment, though I know you're probably dealing with variations of depressing yourself these days too. Maybe that's the point, Maybe it's enough just to let you know you're not alone. I need that too. But like I said, I want to go out on a bright note today. And I've got some amazing news for you too. My little sister, who's not so little anymore, of course, she's an artist too. An illustrator, designer, all-around brilliant creative named Kam Redlawsk. Well, her first book was released last week. It's a beautiful children's book called Yumi and Monster. And here, I'm just going to read the description for you. God, I'm so proud of her. Anyway, here goes. Little Yumi loves to run, jump, and play. But all this changes when a mysterious monster quietly appears, just as Yumi's body begins to feel slow and weak. Afraid and unsure, Yumi does her best to avoid Monster. It takes an unforgettable journey through the snowy woods for Yumi to discover what Monster wants, and for Yumi to learn to embrace a new kind of life. Yumi and Monster is inspired by disability advocate, artist, writer, and Asian American adoptee Kam Redlawsk's own experience living with a rare degenerative muscle-wasting disease that has been gradually making her immobile. With stunning original art, this modern fairy tale will inspire everyone who has faced illness, loss, or any life situation that seems insurmountable. Come take a journey into the emotions we feel when faced with unexpected challenges and discover the beauty, magic, and adventure that lie beyond fear in ourselves. That sounds brilliant, doesn't it? My wife and I have been watching Kam work on this for years, and we're so excited that it's finally going to be out there to inspire kids growing up with challenges, but especially, I think, those with disabilities. I'm going to drop a link to Yumi and Monster in the show notes, which I encourage you to click on. Order a copy for your kid, or to give to someone else's kid, or to give out as party treats, I don't care. But order a copy and help spread the beautiful message found inside my sister Kam's book. All right, that's everything except the boring stuff that's nonetheless important to this podcast success and ability to continue to evolve to include more features like this 5 a.m. StoryTalk plog. Did you enjoy this ep of RealTalk? You enjoying the rest of this podcast? Well, then be sure to give me a follow. Better yet, slap a 5-star rating on it or write a review telling everyone else on the internet why you love it so much. I know you hear that from me a lot, but it's a great no-cost way to support what I'm doing here. If you want to get even more out of the experience, though, consider upgrading to a paid subscription to get bonus episodes from all of my podcast guests talking about a seminal piece of art from their lives. If you become a paid subscriber at the 5 a.m. StoryTalk newsletter, I mentioned that earlier, you'll get access to all of my podcast episodes, except the plogs, days and weeks early, as well as hundreds of other arts articles. For example, this week, I'm sharing a curated screenplay compilation of 50 scripts that taught me everything I know about screenwriting. 50 scripts that I think provide a diverse masterclass on how to become a professional screenwriter yourself. I'll drop a link in the show notes to that as soon as it posts. The next episode of 5 a.m. Real Talk will be published in 2 weeks, while 5 a.m. Story Talk will be back in a couple of days with Season 2's second episode, in which I'm joined by Dr. Sareka Davies, historian, monster consultant, and author of the fantastic new book, Humans, A Monstrous History. It's an amazing, provocative conversation, I think, about where we've been and where we are as a culture. Sareka really brings her A game to this chat. I'll see you then, Story Talkers.